world, and we should do this on April 1st to really do this. So those listening on April 1st, this would be the day to do it. We're going to come in like tie-dye shirts or like the Instant Teams tie-dye hats, things like that. Do you have that hat? Did they send you that hat?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
People will be so confused. Don't you think?
Yeah, we're the unofficial uniform has been in place for quite some time.
Yes. Speaking of which, our first guest ever on this show. Do you want to? Do you know the news about them?
About making the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I did see something. Go ahead and.
Okay, so first guest ever on the show, Erica McManus from Instant Teams. They, I don't know, nominated themselves or were.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. They were awarded, I guess, the 208 and Inc. 5000.
And they
we have a long time history with them.
Yeah, and they set a goal. I think Liza set the goal of making the list like 8 months ago, maybe the beginning of the year or something like that. It was their goal.
You have to have like 20. Kevin Daisy and Eric J. Olson from Array Digital. That's their goal too. They made it as well. They were a guest, or Eric was a guest too, but not in 208. And you had to hit $1 million in revenue, and then some other crazy stats. I think 25% growth year to year. So they just must.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
208. That's no joke. I mean, they're almost number one.
Well, they're certainly in the they did great.
Yeah,
it's always nice to see people succeed.
I agree. How are you, Tim?
I'm great. It's good to see you. This is my favorite day of the week.
I agree. I was watching something yesterday, and the guy said it was Thursday, and I was like, hold on a second, it's Wednesday. And I had to like look at my watch. I actually had to back it up to make sure that we were on the right day, because I was like, I'm not ready to do the show today. And then we're there. So, well, we are delighted to have Monica with us today. Monica Banks, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Doing well.
I'm so excited to be here.
We were notified. I don't know what the right word is, but we were. We asked the previous guest if she knew any awesome folks, and you were one of them. And of course, we talked about her a second ago. Now I can't remember her name again. Allison Myers. Yes. I should have taken notes. You get older and you forget those things. But Allison told us about you, and we're super excited to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. Allison is terrific. So, Allison, if you're listening, thank you for referring me to the show. I'm excited to be here.
What do you think about just like random introductions or stuff like me reaching out to you? What would it take for you to ghost me? What would it take for you to say yes? Because I think a lot of people from a business perspective get cold emails, cold calls, situations like that. Like, how do you verify that message is worthy or not something ridiculous? I mean, how do you kind of verify that?
I mean, the way that you worded it, it didn't seem like it was a bot like request. I do get these very bot-like requests on LinkedIn or even in my inbox where it clearly is pulling data, like scraping data from something. So it will, instead of saying, like, hey, Allison from Scroobius referred you, it will say, hello, Monica, founder of, Allison, founder of Scroobius, like where it's clearly like copy pasted and pulling like variables in. That's when I just click the delete button.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because we always box our guests into one or two categories. Some people reply back very, very quickly. And we talk about on the show, just answering when opportunity knocks, you answer the door and you take advantage of the opportunity. And then some people, they ghost you, like Zach said. And I guess, and then some other people just straight up turn us down because they at least reply to tell us, hey, our heads are down, we're in the middle of product development, circle back around in a few months kind of thing. But yeah, appreciate you answering Zach's email. That's great to have you.
Well, I think responsiveness is like one of my, people who are unresponsive drive me crazy. So it's like, I think just even getting a reply and just saying, hey, I can't do this at this time is it like the least you can do for someone, but rather than just like not responding or, ghosting. But, so there are outlier situations where like you might go into somebody's spam or something like that and they just never received it. But I think if you receive something and it's a nice gesture like this, then you should just respond, even if you can't.
Is doing something like this ever backfired for either of you? In terms of like, what is the worst yes that you had, that then when you walked into the situation, you were just like, oh my goodness, what? I feel like I'm trying to think of something specifically for myself right now, but I know that I've got myself into some really interesting situations because I'm so quick to say yes.
I can think of one, absolutely, where there's a new kind of like approach going on. I feel like with coaching and stuff like that, I always have a lot of coaches, like entrepreneur coaches or whatever approaching me. And there's this new thing going on where it's like you offer the person you're approaching this seemingly no strings attached favor. Like, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who, I think you'll benefit from, kind of thing. And that has happened to me where it just seems like, oh, this person's doing a favor for me. This is so kind or whatever. It seems like there are no strings attached, but then they follow up with you like, hey, I did that favor for you like a month later. And like, now let's get on a call where I can like sell you on my services. Mm-hmm. And this is something I actually have. This is a technique that like, where you're almost like guilting the person because they thought they were getting this like no strings attached favor, and then they suddenly realize that no, you have to listen to. It's kind of like
the timeshare pitch.
The vacation when you like a free coffee at the hotel, but like no, you actually have to watch like a half an hour infomercial about this like vacation home that you have no intention of buying. But it's like I can't pour the coffee out now. I already drank it, so I have to watch this damn video.
Funny, the timeshare things. I've never done it. I know that my mom has sat through some of them. Her mom lived in Las Vegas, so we would go out there, and she would like, oh, we get free tickets to whatever, goes to this silly little thing. I know we never bought a timeshare, but I'm sure it works, and I don't understand why. And is it because people are like in that moment, they know it's really hard to say no?
It's definitely emotional decision for sure.
Yeah. And so it's, and I guess that's kind of how they're trying to guilt you in there. As a guy who also does similar, who does like business coaching things, I would never like, that's a terrible technique. I don't know why people would do that. Like, hey, I just met you. I'm going to introduce you to some rando. And I'm just hoping that at some point, 28 days or so, because my CRM reminded me, I'm going to come back to you and say, hey, let's have that talk. Like, I don't know. That's not a good strategy.
Well, I wind up getting like resentful. I wound up in this particular situation. I wound up getting resentful because it's like, okay, now I feel like I'm painted into a corner where I have to do this, and I don't have any like desire to be, like working with this person. And so whatever.
The last thing you want is that feeling, right? Is to stop having positive feelings and to start having negative feelings about that person. And as soon as you start doing that, it's like, oh, you've lost. So people who are doing that, shame on you.
Trust me, don't. There are other ways. If you want to offer somebody a no strings attached favor in order to just like kind of get on their radar, I think that's awesome. Like whatever, if that's what you kindness, favors, that's great. But if there's a, if it's kind of, there's something hidden behind it, it's not a good look.
Yeah. Cheerful giving. Something that I always try to, I try to remind myself, I always do everything with no intentions of getting anything in return. Just makes life a whole lot easier that way, and just doing things for the sake of doing them.
100%.
Speaking of, go ahead, Zack.
No, you go, Tim.
All right. No, I was going to just touch on the fact of, I would love to hear more about your business, what you're doing. Seems like there's a lot of cheerful, not necessarily giving, but creating, or
yeah,
I'll dive
in. Yeah. So I launched my company, Gugu Guru, in 2015. And at the time I was before I became like a founder, I was a consultant in mostly the mom and baby space, because when I went out to start my marketing consulting practice, that was like my first client. I was also a new mom, and my first client was in the mom and baby space, and it just kind of became my niche. And so I saw that there was a big problem just in terms of the amount of products coming into the category, the overwhelm that parents were feeling, and when just trying to buy products for their family. And then, I also saw that retailers were like, oh my gosh, this is getting crazy. And how do we kind of create like a good shopping experience? So my company originally just kind of started off as a quiz where new parents, mostly first-time moms, came to the site, told us about themselves, and then we delivered like AI-driven, expertly curated, but AI-driven product recommendations that were a best fit for their lifestyle, their style, etc. But really, I've pivoted the company because as I started to grow the business, I saw very quickly that people don't really want product recommendations, or not that they don't want them. They don't necessarily totally trust product recommendations from artificial intelligence. Especially in this stage of life, you want something, you want someone you can trust. And so my biggest competition when I was launching the company was always other moms, because it was always the first mom in a family or in a circle of friends who, she had a baby first, and then everybody would go to her for product recommendations. At the same time, these moms were constantly contacting me at Gugu Guru saying, look, I do all my friends' baby registries, or I'm the go-to person for baby gear questions in my group. Are you hiring? Can I come and join your team? I would love to do this for a living. And I thought to myself, okay, this is my biggest competition, or who I regard as my biggest competition. How do I turn them into my biggest asset? So I actually pivoted the company to be still like very, tailored product recommendations and content for parents. But instead of being powered by artificial intelligence, it's powered by mom content creators. So as part of that, we actually teach moms how to become content creators, and we teach them how to make great content, how to connect with brands, how to get paid for the content they create. And this is a very, very appealing career for a lot of moms because, hey, 1 in every 3 users on TikTok is a mom. Like, moms are already natural content creators. They're already natural recommenders. And it's appealing because they can have flexibility, and it's almost like content creators are like the new wave of entrepreneurs out there. So that's what my company is supporting.
Now, it's never been easier to make content in the world, right? I mean, there's new products every day that are coming out. It's easier and easier to make more content. At some point I saw something like there's more things being produced now than, the day before. I think that's a little bit of a ridiculous statement. I don't find that to be true, but maybe it is pretty true. Where there's just so much stuff to be created that it's a lot easier for people to get into it. I think years ago, so I have a journalism background. If you wanted to broadcast something out, it basically had to be on TV, right, or on radio, and something in that kind of case. Now you can use a tool like we're using here. You can post something on YouTube. You could just take your phone and go live somewhere. Whatever it is, there's tons of opportunities. I think a lot of people will correlate, being a creator, if you will, to immediately having success. And I'm just interested in what your thoughts are on kind of, if you're a creator, you're a successful statement.
Well, I think Signal Fire put out a study where there are like 50 million people who call themselves creators today, and that's mixed up with that's a mix of like amateur creators all the way to like professional, creators making a full-time income. And of that 50 million, I think that it's like a very small percentage. I want to say like 4% are making a full-time, livable wage from content creation. So it's confusing, I think, for a lot of creators, because there are a lot of things that are just like vanity metrics and optics out there that they're kind of confusing for success. So, for example, if you go on TikTok, now I've gone viral on TikTok. I have some videos that have millions of views, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm a successful creator on TikTok. TikTok has kind of specifically has not now so much, because they are changing their algorithm, but prior to this, they were like democratizing, the going viral, and people could do anything and go viral and get like thousands and tens of thousands of followers overnight. And so I think that many confuse that with success, or many see that happened and they're like, oh, I can do this. I can be a content creator. And the tools that you referred to and everything out there right now that's supporting the creator economy does make content creation as a career much more possible, much more accessible than ever before. But it doesn't mean that it's not still work, and it doesn't, that it suddenly doesn't require like you still need to have skills, and you still need to have an approach and a strategy, and you most of all still need to have patience. Like it's hard because we live in a culture of instant gratification. I talk about this all the time, and good things come to those who wait. It's like very, very true in terms of this career path. You can't expect people. People get discouraged. They go viral overnight on a video, and then they like contact a brand and they say, I want to make a video for you. Look, I did, and I got 1 million views, and now you should pay me X amount of money. And then the brand doesn't respond, or the brand's not interested, and with good reason. And the person gets discouraged and kind of like throws in the towel. And it just, it doesn't work that way. Even though we have the tools and we have the resources more than ever before, it still requires, like a specific, structured approach to things.
We have a question from one of our viewers, and Gary is asking, also one of our prior guests on the podcast, do they have to have high quality content?
Thanks for asking, Gary. I guess that is, high quality these days is, very like is doable on your own phone. I mean, people are creating movies on their like actually for the cinema kind of movies on their phone these days. So I think, as far as like high resolution and everything like that, that kind of quality, it kind of depends on like the medium, but it does need to clear like lighting and different. There are different aspects of the content that yes need to be like quality, and the content itself, as far as like what it's about, the storytelling and everything like that, the better that is, that the more the content is going to be successful. But at the same time, I think that some things that somebody might consider quality in terms of like very, very polished videos and seemingly professionally produced actually doesn't matter as much these days, because with something like TikTok, it's all about authenticity versus, Instagram, which is very like aesthetically driven. So I guess there's a lot of room with the word quality, yes, they have to be high quality, but it depends on what kind of quality you're talking about.
One thing that I find interesting about the actual piece of content, whether that be an image, a video, a longer form video, a blog post, a book, a whatever, right? Some sort of media, right? Some sort of piece of content. I got in an argument with someone else saying that that piece of material is probably like the 5th most important thing to actually get viewed. And I'll start it with this. When you sign into Netflix tonight, you're making a decision off of a 2-inch thumbnail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things that we're doing, so that thumbnail is important in that case, which means that that thumbnail probably has to have the highest quality of pieces to get someone intrigued enough to watch that. Maybe a trailer to a video is why we're going to watch it. Maybe the rating of that thing is why we go and see a movie or something like that. The actual headline is, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it, clickbaity enough to entice someone to want to click it, right? An email subject line is strong enough to get someone to read the body, which, by the way, is what you want them to read. So the actual content that you want them to get to is really not the first thing to get them. So it's almost like, hey, like, don't forget that that material that you do is important, sure. But if you can't get that person to click or do the action that you want next, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can't eat the food before you decide what it is by the description of it on a menu.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that you could argue that, on TikTok specifically, and I think even Instagram with their reels, to some degree, people talk about hooks. I actually recently just said I'm just so tired of hooks, because the hook is you start the video with, are you making this big mistake? So the hook is almost like the clickbaity part of the content. And I forget how many seconds you have to like really grab, but there is like a retention, grab with TikToks and Reels, where if you have to get that person to kind of like buy into it in the hook. And then and you have some TikTok experts who are like, don't breathe, don't say hello, don't like use any like dead air kind of situations. Like, you have to go straight into the hook and get them. And then if you can hold them past like 7 seconds, then the content will perform, will probably perform well.
It's like changing your channel on TV.
Yeah.
You have to hook them fast.
Yes. Is that part of the services that you offer, is to provide them feedback based on, hey, you may have more success if you do this, or you need to outline what your talking points are beforehand so that your performance is better? Are those some of the things that you offer? Or
yeah, we do. We definitely coach them on the content, and we work with brands in a way that that kind of format, like having a hook, might not be like relevant or appropriate, because they're different kind of like content pieces that we develop for brands, which are more storytelling, kind of day in the life things, and not necessarily something that requires a hook. We do help with that, but I wouldn't consider myself or my company like any specific, like, we don't say we're TikTok experts. We don't say we're Instagram experts. We say we're content experts. And so, a hook might be really, really relevant on some platforms and not on others. It might be needed for, so I don't necessarily say we'd like watch somebody's video and be like, you should have this hook in there, because chances are on the projects that we do, they're more editorial and not necessarily something where you would need a hook, where it feels kind of more like salesy or commercially,
Yep. That was circling around to ask the second part of Gary's question. But I also was thinking about in the sense of like, when I work with a founder that is trying to, it just typically you can tell right away. It's like, dude, you're not cut out for it. I'm sure that it's probably somewhat the same case for you as well, when it's like, being a content creator, going viral and making your living by being a brand ambassador is really not your thing. You should think about doing something different.
We have like a 15-minute free like, no, no strings attached, actually, consultation
Mm-hmm.
where
As you're saying this, I'm sitting there thinking about that. I'm like,
that's our opportunity to talk to moms. We have and hear and basically vet them, because I don't want to take anybody's, like, if they're signing up for our content coaching services and where they want to be influencers or anything, unless I really think that they, or my team really thinks that they are serious about it, and that they have, a very clear idea of where they fit in as a creator and those kind of things. Like, we're probably not probably, we really do feel like it's the ethical thing to do, to say, like, we're probably not the right fit for you. We have done that. If we get the sense that this is not going to be a fit, the last thing that we want to do is be like, yeah, come into our coaching services and we'll take your money. And then they don't get what they want from it. We knew they were never a fit to begin with. And then they wind up saying, this coaching service sucked and didn't work for me, when it just, they weren't a fit in the beginning, So we try to avoid that by just kind of gently steering them in another direction.
I think that's a hard thing for a business owner to do, right? Is to recognize that, hey, this isn't the right fit. And I know this, and there's a ton of red flags, but as you're growing your business, you might need that money to sustain.
Yeah.
And I think it's a difficult situation. I've been in it. I'm my guess is Tim's been in it, and maybe you've been in it too, Monica. But saying no to that situation when you need that money to feed the family, pay the mortgage. Like, have you taken on clients in the past because you've needed to make money, or like how that scenario of saying no when maybe you shouldn't say no because you need the cash? Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, not so much with moms. I wouldn't take on a mom, but I have, earlier in my career, taken on brand sponsorships who I knew not so much. Well, you know what, where I had a gut feeling like this is not a great product that they're offering, and my audience is not going to be interested. But I felt like, okay, but I can make it. And now I always, when I speak with a brand, I do evaluate them, because, and say to myself, do they have an innovative product? Is this solving a problem? Because if it's not, then this is probably not a great fit, because I'm not going to be able to, because ultimately it just winds up in like disappointment on the brand's part. And they're not going to accept the fact that their product maybe isn't that great. They're going to put it on me. So yes, I've had those experiences before where I'm like, oh, okay, this product is a little lackluster, but hey, I think I can do anything. I can make it great and people will buy it. And then nobody buys it. And I knew it. There were red flags, and I knew that was going to happen. And then ultimately they're like, well, we spent all this money with you and you did nothing. And it's like, nobody wins, and they don't come back and they don't renew. And worst case scenario, they tell another new brand like, oh, no, I worked with them. And, where I think that if they, even though it might hurt a little bit, like their egos, if I say to them like, hey, this is not a great fit for us, because we just, we typically like have more success with brands that are XYZ, then, then they respect it, because they can use their budget in another place.
Because this is a big market. I mean, things have really, really changed a lot in terms of how much money brands are putting into this. I mean, I think in the show notes we have that you mentioned $104 billion is the creator economy right now.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. And so when people approach you and they want to get started, what are the first things that you tell them? I mean, it's not like money's just going to be falling from the sky. I'm going to go ahead and put out a couple pieces of content, and then all of a sudden I'm just rolling in the dough. How do you tell people to start?
I mean, the very, very first step is understanding that you have a special gift. I mean, every single person on this planet, I believe in my heart, has a special gift, as cheesy and corny as that sounds. And you really, in my opinion, to be a successful content creator, you have to figure out what your special gift is, like what you're passionate about, what you enjoy doing, because if you are not enjoying the process of content creation, you're definitely not going to be successful. So it's really important that you tap into that. But the special gift part is that, in my experience, creating content that helps others in some way, and there's many ways you can help people through content, not just like the straightforward educational piece, but also creating connection and emotion and community, and all these things can be achieved through content. But you have to, think about what you enjoy doing, how you can help people, where you've achieved some success in your life, and where you might be able to help others create success. A lot of people would argue, oh, I don't need a niche. But now, especially because the market's going to become so saturated with creators, you do have to differentiate yourself, and you don't want the content that you create dictated by what the jobs that are available out there. Like, I signed up for a content creation app just to kind of check it out, so I could tell my mom creators about it. And at first I told them about it, and then I'm like, you know what, I've never used the app, so I just want to make sure. And when I got on, the app saw that I was a woman in my 40s, and the only jobs that it gave me were about menopause, menopausal weight gain, and menopausal hair loss. And I just have zero interest in creating content about that. And it just totally turned me off, because I felt like I was just typecast, and you don't want that as a creator. So, as I said, you just, thinking about what you're passionate about, what your skills are, and most importantly, where you can help people is the number one first step, in my opinion, for becoming a content creator.
Let's say that one of your clients, a mom is out there, has decided that she's cool with becoming a creator, right? I think that's a thing in itself, is getting past that hey, like, what you learned growing up is maybe different, that there's tools online that you could use to be a part of the creative environment, creator economy, but they're not willing to tell their own stories. And they don't want to show pictures of their families, specifically their kids, maybe not even themselves. What if you're on this 15-minute no strings attached call with me, and that's some of the things that I say to you, what is your advice for them? I mean, are they SOL? Is there anything that they can do? Is there anything that they can do? Like, where, as I'm joking, like as talking, like, what would you say to that?
Well, there's two answers to that, because I feel like it's a two-part question. So as far as like not wanting to share their stories, I think you're missing out by not wanting to share part of yourself, because a big, like, awesome perk to being a creator is that other people can relate to you and are enjoying your story. And there is this kind of connection that you get from it. So, but at the same time, if you are, let's say, a fantastic keto recipe developer, you don't really have to share your story at all about like why you started the keto diet, or keto, or however you pronounce the diet. And you can just do content about your keto recipes, and they're still helping people who want to be on the keto diet. So you're still creating, valuable content, but you're not really sharing yourself. As far as sharing you don't want to put yourself out there, or your family's out there. That's becoming kind of more and more prominent these days, or just more and more common. I have so many moms who are telling me that they do not want to put their kids out on social. What we've done is created a guide for different ways that you can create content where you don't need to show your child's face, because You can do, for videos or for photos, you can do just straight up product photography, flat lays, videos of packing a diaper bag, for instance, where there's no child or person involved. And then that you can use kind of like, I forget what that Tom Cruise movie is where they always reference, where I'm totally forgetting it right now. But anyway,
Mission Impossible, Footloose,
Tom
Cocktail.
Cruise. No, it was
Tom
the one
Cruise.
Where it was
Top Gun.
I want to say Stanley Kubrick directed it.
I'm sure Andrew's all over it. He'll let us know.
Yeah, I think Nicole Kidman was his wife. She was a doctor.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes, thank you. In that, there was
the most ridiculous Tom Cruise movie that there is. Okay, there you go.
But the reason I'm referencing it is because there were a lot of like very edgy scenes, and they were using like ridiculous things like a vase to like cover up, things that were a little bit racy. And so there are just like techniques that you can do there, or you can, instead of showing your child's face, you show the back of their head, or, so there are workarounds for all of it. And again, like you can just go with option A, where you don't really need to show anyone. You can just show product and do voiceovers and stuff like that. So there are definitely ways around that.
This whole thing is really, it's fascinating to me. Because there's so much to it. I mean, just in terms of how the authenticity of just getting out there and talking is great. But if you really want to do something well, and just making sure that you have your thoughts about what you want to say, or how the placement of the products, how many videos or how many pieces of content do you find that someone needs to do before they can really hit that level of improvement or quality needed before they can start being looked at by brands to say, all right, I've turned the corner. Now I think that I can monetize my content?
I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to quantify and say like they would have to create like X pieces of content. I think that the younger kind of generation, like Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're like digital production is like native to them, so I think that for many, it's almost becoming second nature as far as like creating, reels and TikToks, and, they're just kind of like creators by default. So I think to some degree it depends on the person. But I also think that there is, if you want to work in a specific niche and you want to work with a specific brand, then there is an element of practice makes perfect, going to that brand's social media channels and seeing like how they, what kind of content they're using and how that content is formatted or whatever, and what channels they're using, and practicing also just around the house. I always say, just like grab products that you love and that you want to make content about, and create just organic content to get that practice hour, those practice hours in.
Because they generally say like at least in the podcasting world, it's going to take you 100 episodes for you to really hit that next type of milestone. And then where my mind takes me next is like, gosh, you have this killer piece of content, but you're super early, and maybe it's like your third or fourth time doing something like that. What's your advice then in terms of, do you just keep that content evergreen as possible, or do you wait until you've improved and then redo that same piece again? I
think that just kind of the second step of becoming a creator, or again, in my opinion, like how I kind of relay this to aspiring creators is, once you've kind of defined your niche and your unique point of view, then the next step is to create content. And then the step after that is to create a landing page to kind of showcase that content. And I really highly advise creators not to build a house on somebody else's land. Like, don't make the mistake of creating a bunch of TikToks or creating a bunch of reels and then directing a brand to that TikTok or reel, because Instagram could shut down tomorrow or your account could be deleted tomorrow. I hear it all the time. Just that people just randomly lose access to their accounts, or their account gets hacked, or they get put in like a purgatory for accounts because maybe
Facebook jail.
Yeah, exactly. And so just kind of going and to a tool like Canva and just creating a very simple portfolio for your work. Really, you don't have to wait. Get a few pieces of really stellar content that you can put on that page and direct brands to. There's nothing really holding you back if you've got great content. I certainly think having more than one piece is, a good idea. Unless that one thing that you created is just so astronomically awesome that it stands alone. I would say, a few pieces of content, and then you can showcase them and start contacting brands.
What is your thought on this highly debated topic of Instagram trying to take on TikTok's algorithm, and now Instagram is just so much like TikTok in the sense of there's the Kim Kardashian camp that is like, I just want to see my friends again. But then Instagram's like, hey, we just want to retain eyeballs and keep people on the app. So we're we're going to, I guess there's no other way to say it, copy TikTok's algorithm. Yeah. What's your take on that? And what do you tell the people that you work with regarding the changing of algorithms?
Yeah. I mean, like in Instagram's defense, I think that they were headed in a video. Facebook, I want to say, it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, said that they were just going to shoot to be almost 100% video for both Facebook and Instagram by like whatever year it was. And so that was always in the plan. I think that, clearly Instagram is borrowing some things. People are not really from TikTok. People are not really interested in photos as much, in my opinion, as they are videos. So I do think it's kind of a logical move, as much as they're being seen as a copycat. And I don't know if it's a Kardashian or one of the Jenner, like Kylie or Kendall or whatever, that said that that Instagram, they just want the old Instagram back. I mean, they have like, it's surprising that they have so much weight, and like they can actually, that those influencers can actually like impact like stock prices and stuff. But I think that TikTok is also kind of trying to encroach on Google's territory. They're becoming more known for SEO and changing their algorithm, but nobody's really saying anything about that. It's almost like, it's okay for TikTok to try to mimic, Google, but it's not okay for Instagram to try to mimic TikTok. TikTok has changed a lot as far as the algorithm, and even just like how the feeds are organized. And so they're making moves too, and doing a little bit of copycatting as well.
Tim,
Yeah,
are you on TikTok, Tim?
No, I'm not. But it's interesting.
Same.
Yeah, I don't know.
People are gonna copy. I feel like I get it, right? It's something to talk about. But I mean, people are copying things all the time, and you just look at it and you go, if you were to really peel back the onion of almost everything in the world, it's a copycat of something.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has the resources to be able to do that, like, sure, maybe it's a frowned upon type of thing, but I mean, it happens. Like, you look at sports. oh, this team did this, so we're going to take that strategy and start doing this. You know, you see it online, like we're talking about now with TikTok versus Reels or Instagram. I mean, I don't know.
I wish that I wish they would copy how they do the revenue sharing, because it seems like YouTube does the best job. Spotify, or not Spotify, but TikTok is somewhere in the middle, and then Zuckerberg's not giving anything to anybody, and never has. Kind of in terms of.
I think that's actually changing because of the creator funds that are coming out. TikTok, I think, is, from what I have heard, I'm not a part of any of the creator funds, so I don't know for sure. But from what I've heard of TikTok, they pay the least. Facebook came out with, or Instagram, Facebook had Instagram come out with bonuses for people's reels. And I know that some influencers were making like in excess of like $2,000 a month on their reels, because it was just based on impressions. My brother actually just has an account about dogs, and he contacted me and said, "Hey, I just got contacted by Instagram that I'm eligible for bonuses," and they've scaled it back. Like, you can only make a maximum, at least as far as his account, I think it was only $1,200 a month on reels. You get paid per view, but he just started, and he's already made a few $100s off of reels. So I do think that is changing. I think because like Instagram and Facebook want to hold on to the creators, and they're like, we gotta compensate them. Pinterest also, like Pinterest, you don't think of it, but like Pinterest is also in the game. They're also starting up a creator fund, and I know a lot of creators who are making a lot of money off of Pinterest. So
I know you said he might have been governed by hit some sort of governor of $1,200, $2,000. Should we be like, that's not a lot of money. Like it's just I don't know. Like, let's go back to like maybe the success versus
$1,200 a month, and I would just say
that's still not a lot of money. I mean, that's significantly.
But I don't know, because like I see that $1,200 for some of my mom content creators, $1,200 a month would be a complete freaking game changer for them. So I guess it's relative. Like, if you're a professional content creator who's pulling in, $5,000 for a 15-second video, then no, $1,200 a month isn't great. But if you are, and my brother runs a dog rescue, and he's a non-for-profit, so $1,200, he said to me, like, it's not tons of money, but it pays for a month of all these rescues, their food. So I think it's relative. I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just trying to look at it from what is the the median salary of a person in a state, and if they're if that delta is 35 grand, does it make sense for you to be doing this thing when it's so capped at something? Is how I was looking at it. And so I remember hearing this stat from a guy named Jared from Astoria way back when. He was talking about how he had a popular YouTube, he had like a band, and it had a decent amount of views on it. And he's like, we've made $34 off of this thing. And he's like, for us to see success, we have to get like 10 million views to make the average, the average amount of money that someone makes in the country or something like that. And just think that something could get that many views and to only be making basically minimum wage. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a thing that you look at and you go, all right, well, is this the best path to be going by, or do you need to be doing other things to supplement that so that it's not just the views? And I think sometimes people aren't thinking of it from that perspective, as not just from making the $1,200 a month, but also making sure you're doing sponsor deals and other aspects of that in there. And I think people need to be doing that if that's the avenue that they want.
Oh yeah, I would never recommend that $1,200 is just like I say all the time, and I apply it to myself. I have multiple streams of income, like multiple, because if you also, I mean, just kind of going back to what I said, your account on Instagram could vanish tomorrow, completely out of your control. So if you're just depending on that $1,200 a month, you're up a creek.
Or what worked
right?
before doesn't work now.
So there are, yeah. For creators, there are like, those kind of creator funds. There are also brand sponsorships. I think I've seen various studies, but I think like most creators will say that like 90% of their income comes from sponsorship. They have, you have affiliate. Obviously, affiliate requires a lot of work to get successful at it, but there's affiliate dollars. And then there's also digital products and physical products. So you can, and I suggest that creators explore whatever might be a good fit for them. But it all goes back also to sometimes nothing is guaranteed. So you better be enjoying the content that you're creating, or else it could be a real nightmare.
Totally agree. What I'm curious with that, I mean, because this can be, it's a lot of work. I mean, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. What is your take on, do you just plaster yourself on all the different platforms? Do you stick with one platform and master that and then slowly expand and scale to other platforms? What's your take?
My take is to not overextend yourself and to really figure out what platform is the best fit for you. I think that, and I don't know who said it, if there's somebody that said this, but there's this notion that simplifying equals success. And I think that is very true when it comes to content creation. If you're trying to be on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, you're going to burn out real quick unless you're at the level that you can like have a VA kind of, repurpose your content in a way that is a fit for each of those platforms. So I really think, the whole, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing definitely applies here. And you should really home in on what is the best platform for the format that that you're producing, that is, what you're good at, where you excel.
Well, if you do let's just do some simple math. This is how I explain it. Let's say you take 4 platforms, right? 100 divided by 4 is 25% towards each. And if none of them are if you're really not learning anything from any of those, like what would happen if you put more attention on one of those or all your attention on one of those? Could you see more success? And so it's interesting. There's a guy that I follow. His name is Pat McAfee. He started on Twitter. He was an NFL punter, and now he's done all these. He's done well for himself from the online broadcasting world, but he basically only stays in, 1 or 2 lanes, YouTube and Twitter. And that's about it. And, he talks about how he doesn't even, he doesn't have a TikTok account or something like that. Maybe he does now, but he has to learn all these other new things. He's like, why would I do that when this stuff's working? Why don't I just continue to capitalize on that? And I think sometimes, some advice that people give out there is do it all. And it's just like, yeah, you probably don't have the attention, the resources, the ability, insert whatever word here, like to do that. And I think that's good advice.
No, I agree. I have often tried to put myself out there and then on too many things and then inevitably circle back. Like I started a podcast last year and it was just like, what am I doing? Because it gets to a point where it's like you become an entrepreneur or content creator or whatever, because you want the flexibility to live your life too on your own terms. And then you can unfortunately wind up in the pitfall of like being chained, like the exact opposite happening, and I'm sure you guys can relate to that too.
I have so many clients that have gone from, I did this. This is probably like my 5th podcast that I've started, by the way. And so like, it was like, I'll do it every once in a while. Then I was like, okay, you're going to release them on a certain date. Then, it's going well. So let's do 2 days a week. Let's do 3 days a week. And then at some point you sit there and you're like, this is ridiculous. This is nonsense. Like I got to do other stuff in there too. And so I got a client who recently, was at 1, then went to 3 or 2 to 3, and then he's like, I'm going back to 1. Like this is too much. And it's Tim and I have been doing this for 100 and something episodes, and Thursdays at 11.
Perfect. Right.
Yeah, and that's it. We've never even talked about doing doubles, and you know what? If we did, I would say no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 122. That's all. The number doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at it once a week, I mean, we've been at this for over 2 years. So
we have more episodes than The Sopranos did.
There you go. I mean, that's that's awesome. That's like an awesome metric. Seriously. I mean, that's consistency and awesome.
122. I don't know why I brought up The Sopranos. I think that's like one of the most overrated shows of all time, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's a
bold statement.
How many
episodes? It's like in Monica's backyard, isn't it?
Yeah. I think The Sopranos was New Jersey, so technically it's kind of our backyard.
I'm curious what your take is on the paranormal.
On the paranormal? Are you kidding me? Wait, did you do research on me? Because
no, we're good at this. This is our job.
I'm a huge fan of paranormal. Like, first of all, I've seen every single episode multiple times of Paranormal Caught on Camera, and can give you my opinion on all of those things. But I also am, like a massive fan of seeing psychic mediums, and on top of that, definitely very well read on aliens, UFOs, or unidentified, flying phenomenon, or whatever they're called. So is the psychic reading stuff, do you think that's legit, or do you do that for just entertainment purposes and it's fun? No, I think it's legit. Like, I don't even know. It's funny. I read an article about how I saw a psychic, and he literally like just put some positive thinking into my head. And I just don't know if he was full of it or not. I don't believe that he was, because he hit some things that were so spot on that I left believing in him. But what was more important was that he gave me some tidbits that I've carried with me for years that have really, I felt like just the whole the positive thinking, the positive mentality has been a gift. I also randomly found a psychic here on Long Island when
the Long Island medium.
No, but they all know each other, which I found. But this is
they're all in their little clubs together.
This is a woman named Megan Stansat, and I found her in a really kind of roundabout way when my mother-in-law passed away, because my mother-in-law lived down the street from us, and I was very close with her, and I wanted to go see a psychic. And so I went, and Megan blew me away. My husband, when I was leaving the house, my husband said to me, like, wouldn't it be so weird if she said something that my mother-in-law always said, which is my eyes, my eyes. And I said, that's just too funny, whatever. And I sat down with Megan, and within like 10 minutes, she goes, now, who is this woman coming through that's saying my eyes, my eyes? I recorded the session. I like screamed to high heavens. So I've had other experiences with Megan where they're just too accurate. And even my mom, who is like a skeptic to like the 10,000th degree, because she's Catholic, and that's not a part of the Catholic faith at all. Even she's like some of these things that Megan brought up, there's just no possible way that she could. I don't know, like, unless she's a mind reader or some other kind of like energy is going on there. But she's pretty amazing. So if any of your listeners want to check out a great psychic, I highly recommend Megan. And I'm not affiliated with her in any way. I found her in a very roundabout way, but she has blown me away on multiple occasions.
So in the whole COVID pandemic era, can you do readings on Zoom and all that stuff now?
You can. I don't, just because I don't know why I can't make the mental leap that someone would be able to read me over the phone or over Zoom. I feel like I have to physically be there for the people that I want to speak with to come through. That's just my thing. But most of the psychic mediums that I have met with or talked to say that they can give just as good of a reading over the phone or over Zoom.
Yeah, all it takes is, my eyes, my eyes.
Well, no, there's more than that. Actually, that's just one tiny example. She has said some things that there's just absolutely no way that she could have ever known unless she referenced conversations that my husband and I never shared with anyone. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, it was just crazy. And
so are you telling me that mediums are the like the original Alexa listening in?
Careful, mine is going to go off. I think so. Yeah, maybe. I think that they just tap into that. There's like multiple layers of energy on this planet. And I fully believe in the concept of energy not being able to be destroyed, because I think that that's been proven, and they just somehow can tap into that energy and every psychic that I've ever spoken to also says that we all have the ability to tap into it too, if we want to exercise that we actually don't really need psychic mediums. We just have to learn how to do it ourselves. So,
well, in hour 2 of the Fervent Four, we discuss with Monica how you can become your own.
This is my favorite podcast interview ever. My family makes so much fun of me. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and my brothers and sisters make so much fun of me because I am like a massive paranormal fan. So the fact that you brought this up, like, I'm
all right. We're basically out of time, but I want to ask this question.
Unless you have a hard stop, I don't. We can keep.
No. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so I watched the other day, and I remember living this and thinking what everyone did. So this Manti Te'o documentary has just come out, and he was the guy who got catfished when he was at Notre Dame. I don't know if either of you guys remember this, but he was a very good football player and was catfished during this whole thing before catfish happened, and the whole thing is wild. And I'm not saying that I do exactly what your brothers and sisters do by like making fun of you for stuff, but like, why do we make fun of people for stuff? Because they don't like do the same things that we do, right? Like I'm 38 years old and I watch wrestling, right? That's ridiculous. People make fun of you for that. People make fun of your siblings make fun of you for that aspect. We made fun of Manti Te'o, this guy who we have no idea who he is and what he's going through, but we do that. Like, as a society, like, why is that a thing that we do? Because as I was watching this, I like literally, I felt really bad for the guy, and I'm like, I cannot believe that I used to, not a lot, but like, jokingly, if I was talking to a friend, I'd be like, oh, can you believe this guy? He's dating a girl who doesn't exist, and like, we all make fun of this person. Like, it seems like such a crappy thing to do. Yet we all do it. Why?
Well, I think the key to life is to stay curious. And I read something, and I not to jump ahead of you, Monica, on this, but I read something that I thought was super profound, and it was like, if you think the same way at 40 as you did when you were 20,
sure,
you lost 20 years. Yeah. So you got to stay curious. And to me,
but you shouldn't make fun of people from that perspective.
No, I agree. But like, to me, I'm really curious about this. So it's like, now I want to know, like, when you go in, if you talk to a medium or a psychic, do like they ask you a question beforehand? Like, do you only want to hear the positive stuff? If there's
blue pill, red
stuff,
pill.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like, man, if you found out how much time left, would you want to know? I don't know if I would want to know the answer to that.
It's interesting. I don't, going back to what we were talking about, just kind of funny that you say that about the 15-minute consults I give mom creators, where I say, like, this might not be the right path for you. Very similar with the mediums, where if there is something, they're not going to say, oh, you're going to be super successful in your career if that's like not what they're seeing, but they're not going to tell you, hey, you're going to be like a massive failure. Mm-hmm. They will say, it looks like you might have some challenges ahead with your career. Like, they soften it up a bit. I have actually spoken with Megan about this specifically because I did tell her about the positive like pieces that this other psychic gave me, and she was saying she knew that psychic. Unfortunately, he passed away, but she said to me like
Bet he didn't see that coming.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? But she said to me that 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 he would not have done that. Like if he would not have given me those positive pieces, that I would live a long life or whatever. That if it weren't true, he would have maybe said some things a little bit differently. But as far as the making fun of thing, I think there's two different types of making fun of. Like my sisters and brothers, it's like a loving making fun of, and then we had actually a loss in our immediate family, and they definitely changed their perspective. Like when something happened in our immediate family. And it was less about like, there's still kind of a little bit of skepticism there, but but less of the like kind of, picking on me kind of thing. But then there's this other thing on the internet where like, I'm sure you guys saw that the CEO that posted a selfie of himself crying last week on LinkedIn, and just everyone attacking this guy and whatever. And like that to me is just like, I just don't understand the bullying and the like. There are feeds on TikTok of people like just outing people, or making fun of people's parenting styles and stuff like that. And like it's very
Don't
very
you think
sad.
that maybe? So I saw that. I've let people go. I've definitely cried beforehand, and in those situations. I think in a way, maybe it's like you feel like a failure, I guess, while it's happening. I can't believe this is happening. So like maybe you feel like that. And I don't know this individual, so maybe people don't know. They don't know where it's around, but like maybe that's why you shouldn't post so much stuff, because then when certain stuff like this happens, I guess people were complaining like, oh, you were just on some vacation that looked expensive, and now you're doing this, and so where is the authentic? So to me, is that authentic, him doing that, or is he just trying to get a bunch of people to see him? Is maybe where people were going with that, but it's I don't know. Like and you're also not going to please everyone, because most people are employees. And so they look at that and like, oh, here's this schmuck who just, fired these people. And now he wants me to feel bad for him because he's crying. He posted about it. Like it's a hard thing. And I didn't make fun of the guy, but
no, but I think I see a lot of like Schadenfreude, just people like from my perspective, I've had brands contact me and say like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's stroller got recalled. My competitor's stroller got recalled. Should we just like tell everybody on the internet, like, oh, don't get that stroller. Come get my stroller because that one was recalled. My advice is always like, you never know when something is going to happen to you. So you need to
take the high road.
Shut up.
And your stroller, your stroller,
It's the same thing, like on, with the crying CEO, all these people like saying stuff. It's like, you never know when you might put something out there and people are going to poke holes in it. So it's just best to be kind and stay above it for sure.
There you go. Monica, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
We took a lot of different avenues. That was fun. So thank you for being with us today. You guys can go to her site at guguguru.com.
Quite the jingle there, Zach.
You said that way.
Well,
hopefully that's guguru.com. Appreciate you being on the show today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Monica.
Peace.